Hello, good evening, everybody. This is our weekly book discussion, and tonight I'm going to go over the book Pre-Suasion by Robert Cialdini. Um, this is book number 15 of the 52 book challenge. And last week we went over the book Blue Ocean Strategy, and we actually had some Facebook was having some issues with their lives, so it got cut off short. So I was gonna record it and upload it. Maybe I'll do that. It might not be alive, but I had some good things to say about that book, Blue Ocean Strategy. So today is Persuasion, and this book is a very interesting book. It's Robert Cialdini. He wrote a book about 30 years ago called Influence, and he's very Robert Cialdini is very well known in the area of psychology of influence. He's a social psychologist, and that book Influence. A lot of people have read that. I know that I've heard about it a lot. It's been quoted a lot, and this book Pre-Suasion, I guess, built on the momentum, even though it was 30 years ago. He didn't disappoint. I have some mixed feelings about the book, though. At the beginning, I like the beginning and the end, and then the middle, I think it was good overall. I think it was good, but for me, for my taste, it was just a lot of examples. The basic premise about this book, the concept is persuasion. So, like I said, his first book was Influence. So it was about how to influence people. And he went over like six or seven points to focus on to influence people. But that book was about the message, how to influence people when you're communicating a message. So how to build and structure your message so you can be more influential. And the message could be written, oral, right? In this book, he focuses on persuasion, which is before. It's basically how you can influence somebody before you actually communicate the message, how before they actually experience the message. And I found that very interesting because most of the time, I think that the typical scenario is that we try to focus and study hard and pay attention and work hard to build our message, to craft our message, to prepare for a meeting, to prepare for an interview, to prepare for a sales presentation, or to prepare for something that you're going to communicate. But what's interesting is that with persuasion, you can pre-frame, or that's one word to say, you can pre-frame the people that you're going to communicate with and get them more aligned to accept your message before they actually get the message. So that's basically what persuasion is about. And he gets into a lot of examples, and not just examples, but different strategies to do that. And from examples, but different strategies. And the point comes across very, very good, very loud and clear. There is a key advantage when you persuade somebody before you try to influence them. So let me give you an example. If you're going to a liquor store and they're playing French music, for example, and you're in the area where there's wines, and you are, by subconsciously listening to that music, you're more attuned to the French wine aisle, or the French wine that they have. Maybe they're presenting it on the sale or something, and statistically speaking, you might be in the group of people that buy these French wine, and you think that it's a decision that they just took because they wanted to. But the fact is that when you're listening to that music, in the background. You might not pay attention to it in the foreground, but you're seeing it in the background. And then when you are presented with what you're looking to buy, French wine versus something else, your brain is already aligned or persuaded to buy the French wine. That's an example. He gives other examples, very similar in business, but this applies in anything, not just in business. I find this very interesting, and it's a very powerful tool. I think that you should have in your toolkit, in your arsenal of things to do in terms of communication, because like I said, excuse me, we can focus a lot on trying to communicate something to somebody, but there's so much going on out there. You're always competing for somebody's attention with so much other noise that it's out there, so much other competition, so much other commercials, so much other, there's so many other things out there. So you might have a great thing to offer, but how do you open the doors to communication? And that's where Pre-Suasion comes into play, or helps you. It's an art. It's really an art. I think that you really have to pay attention to this and come up with a way to do this that works. It definitely works, but you have to really understand the principle. He basically talks. I'm going to just glance over some of my notes here, but that's the basic principle. He really gets into it a lot. So an example that he provides, like in a furniture store that has a website or a landing page online, where they basically did a test, an A/B test, and they had a website, a page where people would buy furniture, and the background of one page, the background image was clouds, like nice fluffy clouds, and then the offer for the furniture. And there was another version of the same offer, but the only difference was that the background was a background of an image of pennies, like small coins. At the end of the test, they discovered, and they polled the people that made purchases, and they discovered that people who purchased in the page that had the version of clouds preferred, when they asked them what was their preference, they say that they prefer comfortable mattresses. I think it was an example with mattresses in a furniture store. And they asked the same question about preferences on the website that had the image of pennies, and they said cost. They prefer cost. And when they asked further into why they decided one or the other, none of them realized that the page impacted their decision. It influenced their decision. So that's an example of how this applies, and even in the business world, or in marketing, or in sales. And we are bombarded by these types of messages all the time, that you might not think about it, but it's there. If it hits your senses, whatever those 5 senses are, it's in your brain, and then when you get in front of that, whatever it is, product, service, idea, message, whatever, you already have pre-framed or primed your brain to that message. So you can use this to your advantage in so many different things. Think about this. Next time you want to prepare something and communicate something, before you communicate, don't rush. Well, don't work. Yeah, work hard to do, provide good content, but don't rush into putting it out there right away. Persuade your target audience first. Try to, depending on what it is, there's different, because again, remember, you're trying to grab people's attention and communicate this, and be open for them to listening to you, and be not just listening to you, but agreeing, right? Agreeing with what you're saying. Another example that I see that he put, one example that he talked about is waitresses in a restaurant. Uh, they saw that when a waitress leaves a chocolate when they're leaving the bill, right, for people to pay, the check, they put the check, right, and they leave a chocolate as a courtesy, as a thank you. The waitress, a waiter or waitress, they leave a chocolate. They notice that they get a better tip. When the same waitress or waiter left 2 chocolates, they notice that they get more better tips overall, right, over the period of days, if they change those strategies. And that has to do with what was called the law of reciprocity. Basically, when you give something to somebody, there's a feeling, a psychological feeling that the other person has, that they kind of owe something to you, or they just want to return the favor, or return the thanks or whatever. That's the reciprocity. But in the case of this example with the waitresses and the chocolates, it's genius, I think. Before getting the tip, right? Just the fact, the act of giving a piece of chocolate makes you more friendly, makes you more open, makes you more, it's just very different, right? And that is one way that the waiters, if everybody does it, then, it's not that, it doesn't really help. But how many waiters and waitresses actually do that? I have yet to see. Well, I think I remember one person once gave me some candy, I think. I don't remember the outcome of that, but that's a great example, I think. So that's the law of reciprocity. And the last thing that I wanted to point out that also applies is that you might think that, when you see advertising on websites or even on TV, I would say on websites, you think that, you don't pay attention to them. They're all over the place, the pop-ups and banner ads and things like that. And you might say, I'm not paying attention to those. In reality, what happens is that those ads might not be in your foreground, right? And you might just dismiss it, but they are in the background. You do capture it. Your brain does see it. So the more often you see it, then what happens is that when it gets to the point where the product is in front of you, or you're actually trying to buy something, you're going to recall more easily the ones that you saw on these ads. So even though they're not directly impacting you at the time that you see the ads, they do have an impact on you on the long term. So that's a great thing for the advertisers. And you might think that you're just ignoring it, when in fact it's in here in your subconscious. Even these commercials that you see on TV over and over and over, the same commercials, car insurance or whatever this is, they spend a lot of money doing these commercials, and you say, I don't, I'm ignoring them. But when it comes time to making a purchase, you're going to have them on top of the mind. So that's the principle in that. So yeah, I think it was genius. I liked it. There's so many, like I said, in the middle, it got very intense with a lot of examples. And I think it went a little bit off topic, but it just went so deep into the examples of how well this applies in so many different areas and so many different ways. Ways of asking questions. Like, let's say, for example, last one, I promise. If you ask a question to somebody, let's say you want somebody to fill out a survey or to answer a question or something like that, and you ask them a question like, do you consider yourself adventurous? Right? If you ask somebody, do you consider yourself adventurous, or do you consider yourself open-minded? Most people will say yes, because they don't want to say that they're closed-minded, or they don't want to say that they don't want to even think that they're closed-minded or non-adventurous, right? So when they say yes to that, whatever follows afterwards, they're open to whatever. They're more open to whatever else you say afterwards. So that's a way to pre-sway somebody before they actually get to the content of what it is that you're going to talk about. So that's another great example. So over and over, if you do this, if you really plan this out, I think it will work out in your favor. I'm looking at this. It does take. I think it's an art, right? And I suggest take a look at it. You'll pick up a lot of golden nuggets here. So that's been book number 15 of the 52 book challenge. Next week we're going to go over a book from Gary Vaynerchuk called Crush It, another popular book. A lot of people again quoted that book and follow Gary V, and it's a great book. I actually read that one, and the follow-up for that one. But Crush It is coming up next week. Pick it up. I'm gonna leave the link on the website on the book challenge page. And this is the 52 book challenge. We're trying to go to 52 books in this year. That's all, my friends. I'll see you in the next review. All right, bye-bye. Oh, one final thing. Check out Mindset of Steel live show on Wednesday. We have some special guests coming up. And I have an interesting one coming up very soon. I think you'll enjoy, and you'll recognize him from TV recently. All right, talk to you and let me know what you think. All right, in the comments. All right, take care. Bye now.